On a dark and gloomy autumn day, Michael, fueled by curiosity, decided to visit an abandoned mental asylum. This decaying structure overflowed with a mysterious past and forgotten memories. Gray clouds shrouded the asylum's roof, and the wind played an eerie melody on the creaking windows. As Michael approached, he pushed open the rotten door with trembling hands. The rusty hinges shattered the silence, and he stepped into the building. Initially, the corridors were silent, but over time, Michael began to hear faint whispers and an eerie murmur in the distance. As he explored, the empty beds in the old rooms bore witness to forgotten memories. While wandering on the first floor, Michael's attention was drawn to a particular room. The door mysteriously swung open, and a cold breeze emanated from within. Stepping inside, the door closed and locked itself behind him. Michael was not alone. The room was filled with old photographs hanging on the walls. The sorrowful expressions of patients who had once occupied this space sent shivers down Michael's spine. As he took a deep breath, a mist materialized in the corner, a harbinger of a dark presence. For a moment, Michael felt frozen, then he saw the shadow slowly advancing towards him. When a cold hand touched his shoulder, he recoiled in horror. Half-decayed faces emerged from the shadows, ghosts of the past. The hospital corridors echoed with screams and murmurs as Michael, in terror, got lost in the maze of darkened rooms. The hallways twisted like a labyrinth, blurring the boundaries of time and reality. Finally, as Michael descended to the basement, he sensed a mysterious light calling to him. Yet the basement room exuded an energy filled with darkness and horror. Upon opening the door, Michael confronted a sight that would forever haunt his soul. In the basement room, there was a portal saturated with the ghosts of the past. Shadows and murmurs danced around this supernatural gateway. Michael felt drawn into these supernatural events, disappearing into the darkness. From that day forward, the ghosts of the mental asylum continued to wander in Michael's mind. The gloomy corridors, the screams of former patients, and the shadows seemed to have taken hold of his soul. No one knew for sure whether he had truly left or become a part of that haunting place. On a dark and gloomy autumn day, police officer Alex, driven by curiosity, decided to visit the abandoned Briarcliff Mental Asylum to uncover the mysterious events of the past. He brought his cameraman friend Mike along, intending to document their exploration. The rusty gates of Briarcliff creaked open, and an oppressive heaviness filled the air as they stepped inside. The corridors were initially silent, but Mike's camera started trembling, and a radiation detector began to signal mysteriously. Alex, feeling a dense psychic energy, grew uneasy as the atmosphere chilled. Upon reaching the old operating room, the camera began shaking uncontrollably, and the lights suddenly went out. Strange murmurs echoed in the dark. When Alex lit his flashlight, he discovered a chilling message written on the wall. "We all share the same dream." As they ventured deeper into Briarcliff, the old patient rooms seemed to come alive with forgotten memories. Mike's camera captured images of shadows and heard echoes of long-forgotten screams in the darkness. As they ascended a floor, a closed door caught their attention. Before they could force it open, a mournful melody reached their ears. Opening the door revealed an invisible force playing a piano in the room. As they delved into Briarcliff's history, the atmosphere grew more intense. The camera footage, distorted by radiation, began showing glimpses not only of tense and fearful moments, but also of the haunting imprints of the past. Returning to the first floor, a shadow appeared in the corridor. Alex followed the shadow, and the camera captured a face that suddenly turned toward them, disappearing into the darkness. Eventually, as Alex and Mike exited Briarcliff, they carried traces of a place where reality and the supernatural intertwined. The recorded videos depicted not only moments of suspense and horror, but also revealed the echoes of a forgotten history. Alex believed that this story was far from over. prepared to confront the ghosts lost in the hospital corridors. After their return from Briarcliff, Mike disappeared suddenly. Desperate to find him, Alex reviewed the recorded videos and realized that Mike vanished in the ominous piano room. Haunted by fear and worry, Alex decided to return to Briarcliff. The doors resisted opening, as if the building itself was defending against intrusion. The camera navigated the corridors uncertainly, and the radiation detector vibrated wildly. Upon reaching the piano room, the door closed on its own. Lights flickered, and a melody echoed. Mike's screams intertwined with the ghosts of the past. Alex noticed that the video recordings didn't capture the moment Mike vanished. Searching for Mike while trying to unveil more about the mental asylum's past, every step Alex took seemed to intensify the shadows of the past. One night, leaving Briarcliff, a mysterious light appeared in the sky. Alex thought it might be a presence communicating with the asylum's history. Surrendering to this entity's path, he vanished into the shadows among the figures. The next day, all that remained of Briarcliff Mental Asylum was its ruins. Alex's whereabouts were unknown, and Mike's fate remained a mystery. However, leaked video recordings on the internet sparked conversations about the forgotten ghosts of Briarcliff. No one knew where Alex went or what happened to Mike. Briarcliff persisted with its secrets and dark history. The forgotten ghosts continued to wander within the records bearing the imprints of the past. On that ominous night, Alice, Mark, Emily, and David decided to enter the abandoned Greenfield Mental Hospital. The group, armed with candles and an old Ouija board, was determined to explore the hospital's dark past and the legends surrounding it. With their candles flickering and the Ouija board in hand, they pushed through the hospital's doors. The hospital, silent and deserted, seemed frozen in time. Moonlight illuminated the corridors, revealing deteriorating walls and rusty iron bars rising like ghosts. While Alice was eager to follow the traces of something, the others reluctantly trailed behind her. On the first floor, the group wandered through rooms that once housed patients undergoing treatment. Upon entering one room, the door shut itself, locking them inside. Alice chuckled at the situation, saying, "Maybe we should stay a bit longer." However, at that moment, a dark shadow seeped through the walls and spread into the room. Mark pulled out the Ouija board. The group decided to conduct a séance. Sitting around the candles, hands joined, Emily nervously uttered, "If there's a spirit here, show us a sign." Suddenly, the candles flickered, and the atmosphere in the room shifted. The Ouija board's planchette started moving on its own. Letters aligned, forming sentences. "Disturb not our peace. We rest in peace here," the planchette said, moving calmly. Despite this message, the group remained determined to continue. As the séance progressed, the atmosphere grew tense. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors. Shadows danced on the walls, and the creaking of rusty iron doors signaled the awakening of long-forgotten fears. Alice suddenly rose, trembling. Her eyes glazed over, and she took a deep breath. "We need to stop this," she said. But the Ouija board continued speaking. The planchette's movements intensified, and the letters began losing their meaning. Abruptly, the room plunged into darkness. Eerie sounds echoed from the corridors, and the squeaking of iron doors intensified. Undeterred, the group huddled together, attempting to comprehend the strange situation. In that moment, Alice was pulled away by an unseen force, disappearing into the corridor. Finally, the group reached the door Alice had been pulled towards. As it opened, they confronted the ghost of a caretaker who had once worked in the hospital. His eyes were like pools of blood, and he spoke with a fearful expression. "You shouldn't be here. You must leave and not awaken these spirits." Despite the warning, the group, with trembling hearts, persisted in their quest. As they continued the séance, the atmosphere grew more fraught. The shadows seemed to thicken, and the group could hear eerie whispers that echoed from the distant past. Alice, with a sudden shudder, stood up again. Her eyes focused on an empty space, and she drew a heavy breath. "We have to end this," she said, but the Ouija board persisted in its communication. The planchette darted around, and the letters became a jumble of confusion. In a sudden turn of events, the room's lights went out. High-pitched screams echoed through the corridors. The group, holding onto each other, tried to make sense of this strange occurrence. It was then that Alice was pulled away by a shadow into the corridor. The others chased after her, and an eerie silence fell momentarily. At last, the group stood before a door. When it opened, they were met by the ghost of a caretaker, his eyes filled with a sorrowful smile. "You should leave. These spirits should not be disturbed," he said. As the group hastily exited the hospital, the screams and restless murmurs of past spirits continued to follow them. Outside, with the door closing, the caretaker's gaze lingered on them, offering a melancholic smile before disappearing. Behind the doors of the Greenfield Mental Hospital, the group had experienced a night they would never forget. A night filled with the ghosts of the past and the secrets of the abandoned hospital. They would never be the same again.